Hello and welcome to the Mobile Accessible Games interview series. I'm your host, Aaron Spelker. Mobile Accessible Games is a group that's dedicated about all things mobile accessible gaming, and through our interview series, we interview game developers, accessibility influencers, as well as accessibility advocates. This week, we have a return guest, the developers of the famous and very successful game To the Dragon Cave. They are back with their new game, Brave Brain. So I'd like to welcome the development team here today, and thanks for joining me.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
So I always like to kick off the series. So we have three people from the development team. So why don't we just give a chance for each of you to, just give your introduce everybody to yourselves and give a little brief bio about yourself, so the community knows who each of you are and what role you play.
Okay, so shall I start maybe? So
Yeah.
I'm Miloš. I founded Kikiriki Games with my wife Jana 2 years ago, and after developing To the Dragon Cave, we started a new game, Brave Brain, which is what we are talking about today.
Next person.
Okay, I can go. My name is Natálie, and I joined the team last year. I was not working on the previous game, but I was working on the Brave Brain as a graphic designer and artist. So,
Welcome.
So hello, my name is Peter. I joined Kikiriki Games in February because of my internship, and I do programming stuff like Unity and C#. So
Excellent. So we have people who cover all aspects of the game. So that's excellent. Now, Brave Brain is quite a different departure from your previous game, To the Dragon Cave, which was kind of a first-person shooter type of game. Why don't you, one of whoever wants to take it, one of you, just tell people, what is Brave Brain, what game is this, and what is the purpose of Brave Brain?
So Brave Brain is a quiz game with a travel theme, and it's about like getting the quiz questions, getting answers for the quiz question correctly, completed missions in various countries of the world, and getting the highest scores you can possibly get. So that's about it, yeah.
Yeah. So, what I found particularly interesting when you kind of announced that you were doing Brave Brain, which is it's such a wild departure from what you had previously done. Again, To the Dragon Cave, a wonderful game, first-person shooter type of experience. Now you go into a quiz game, which is drastically different. Why the switch of genre type and to something so drastically different than what you had previously had some significant success with?
Yeah, so this was actually something we planned with Anna from the beginning when we founded the Kikiriki Games, that we don't want to focus on a single genre. We want to cover wider game types. And the first game, To the Dragon Cave, was my favorite genre, shooter.
Yeah.
And the second one, Brave Brain, is a game where you need to use your brain a lot. So that's my wife's favorite genre. So that was one reason for switching the genre.
Yeah.
And the second was because after reaching To the Dragon Cave, we realized that with a game that is mainly based on audio experience, such a game can be very difficult for sighted gamers. And we wanted with To the Dragon Cave create a game that can like join both the gamers groups, sighted and blind gamers. But we realized that this is very difficult task when you have like a game that is based on audio, because for the sighted gamers this is very difficult experience. So we wanted to create something that can really join both the groups, and that was the second reason why we choose a quiz genre.
So I've had a chance to play the game quite extensively, and what I found particularly refreshing was I thought the questions were pretty unique. They were things that I had not necessarily come across before in other types of quiz games. So where did you come up with researching and coming up with good questions, and quite a few, and also if you could say how many questions have you created for the game?
Yes. So this was our this was also our effort to join the community into creating the game. So we in November last year we started a contest where people from all around the world could send us a quiz questions, and these questions will be then added to the game. So we had this as one nice source of very unique and beautiful questions. So these questions that we collected from people are about 1/3 of the questions in the game, and the second 2/3 of the questions are from a database where we purchased the questions to have really like enough questions in the game. So there is now nearly 10,000 questions.
Oh wow, 10,000 questions. That's quite a bit. That's excellent because again, on a quiz game, what you never want to do is start seeing the same questions over again. And with 10,000, that's going to be pretty hard to do. You'd have to play quite a while before you would see a repeat. So that's excellent. So, and mentioning some of the people who are on this group, there seems like there are some graphics which, again, my community, which is blind and visually impaired, might not necessarily see. So what kind of graphics or visuals are presented in the game as one is playing through and going through the different geographical locations where the quizzes are based?
Yeah, so I might answer that because I was a graphic designer. We tried to make the game audio and also visually rich, so sighted people enjoy it too. And the questions are separated into locations, and the locations are on maps. So when you open the game, there are missions, and when you open a mission, the mission is usually the country, right? So there is a mission, for example, Italy or United States or something. And when you open it, sighted people can see a map with locations, but it's not necessary to see the map. You can play it without seeing the map. It's only a visual aspect of the game, and it helps us to put everything together logically.
Does when you're in the location, like let's just say you're in Paris or whatever as a location, do all the questions for Paris, are they just kind of showing the map of France or whatever the case may be, or does each individual question have its own graphic?
Yeah, the mission is not Paris, it would be France,
okay.
because the whole country. And when you open France, you will see the map, and there will be 3 locations. And we don't have cities here, we have monuments in the game. So in Paris, we have Eiffel Tower, we have Fashion Mall or something like this. It's not this location is not a monument or something, but it's we choose it because France is popular for fashion shows and stuff like this, and similar locations you can find in different places too. So we picked something specific for the country, and we created a location for it, and each location has specific questions, like specific pack of questions. So there are questions about France in one location, but in another location there are questions about, let's say, fashion, if it is fashion mall or something like that.
Right. And then again, go on to so with each of those, so each country has 3 locations, and 3 locations have their series of questions. But from a visual graphic standpoint, all of those are showing the same graphic in the background. There's like with each question, there's not a new graphic, right?
Yeah. When you open the quiz, the graphic is the same for each location. There are differences only on the map, right? You have different map for different country and different graphics for different locations.
This question, I think Peter alluded to it a little bit, so I'll put this question towards him. So when you're creating Brave Brain, what program are you using? Is that Unity? I think I heard you mention Unity. Is that what you're using as the application to create this game?
So we are using Unity with many other packages. And specifically for the accessibility, we have a specific package which gives us a component which can be modified, and it's really hard to work with because with the graphics element, you can see that something is missing. But if you have some missing accessibility element, it's not that easy to find that out. You have to test it and find it.
So, it sounds like, we have 3 people here on the call today, and we had, I think 3 people in the last interview as well. So, how large has the development team grown to at this point?
So the core that worked on the Brave Brain is 4 people, me, Natálie, Petr, and Jana. Then sound designer prepared for us the sound effects for the UI elements. Then our music composer created all the beautiful soundtracks for the locations and for the game. Then another programmer worked on the Brave Brain as well. And then Jana cooperated with people from blind community, and they together was like proofreading the quiz questions translations and help to categorize them and put them into the right shape so the quiz database could be used in the game.
Now, actually, speaking of that, so since you're releasing this all around the world, I assume it's probably in different languages, the game? Like if I was in Spain, I could get the questions in Spanish?
At this moment, we have Czech and English language. Yeah, but planning to add more languages over the time.
So even with that, even with Czech and English, I mean, with 10,000 questions, I mean, how much work is it to translate the questions and have them come out right? I assume you can't just put it in Google Translate and have it really kind of come out the way you really want it to do. So how much is involved into really getting those 10,000 questions written well in Czech as well as written well in English?
Yeah, so this was quite interesting task to deal with because we had 2 sources. One was from the crowdsourcing of the questions from the contest where we gathered questions from the people. These were mainly in Czech language, so we had to translate this to the English and then make proofreading for them. And then the database we purchased, that was in English, so we had to translate it into Czech and again do proofreading. So we had to translate and make proofreading for the questions in 2 directions, which was quite challenging and time consuming. So the translation itself, it was automated, but then you can just leave it there as it is. You need to read all the questions, check the translation is correct, and then we also needed to categorize these questions into these categories and countries. So there was a lot of work with the database.
Like if you are moving on and let's say Spanish is the next language you want to do you just go out and hire somebody who's an expert, English to Spanish translator to say, here's the database, convert all the questions and the answers into Spanish? Is that how you would kind of, tackle, adding in the new language?
Ideally, based on the experience we have from the current progress on translations, ideally the person who would check the questions will be someone who is native Spanish speaker and someone who also knows some English. So if we give the person the database translated to Spanish, which will be done by automated tool, then such person can recognize if the translation is correct in the Spanish, and if not, then can check the English origins and correct the questions. So probably like that, yeah.
Now, I was originally thinking, but I mean, with 10,000 questions, that's quite a lot of questions. So is that, are you stopping there, or are you going to, eventually have 15,000 questions and 20,000 questions? Like, do you constantly expect to keep adding questions, or you figure, 10,000 is enough questions to for the average person, probably won't even see that many questions playing the game. So like, what is the thought of adding more questions, or is 10,000 deemed to be enough questions?
Definitely not enough questions for us. We have another 3,000 questions that are undergoing proofreading. So we have like this big pack to be added, and at the same time, Anna is already creating questions for a new country we are going to add to the game, which is Texas. And so these are definitely things that are going to be added, and we also plan some new features for the game, and one of them will be seasonal quizzes. So if you have like Halloween, you will get special quiz where are questions connected with Halloween. So there will be definitely like getting more questions into the game.
So I guess, how do you figure out, so you pick a country, let's stick with Paris, and then you pick the Eiffel Tower, and now you're going to have a series of questions about Paris under your Eiffel Tower location, let's just say. And if someone's, really smart, they're going to answer the 3 questions and be, answer those 3, get it perfect, and be done with that location. But how many questions do you actually have to put in there, knowing that there's going to be people who get things wrong? Is it 10 questions? Is it 20 questions? Is it 30 questions? Like, how many questions do you have to really put into each location? Because not everyone's going to get it in 3 or 5 or maybe even 10 tries if they don't know anything about that location.
So our aim is to have at least 100 questions per location or per topic. Our experience tells us that like 50 questions is the minimum to provide like a good game experience, but we are aiming to have 100 questions per location at least. We have somewhere where the locations are very specific. We have 100, but some other locations like literature, there we have like several hundred questions for such location.
So when I go to Paris, or if I go to France and I pick the Eiffel Tower and I get my 3 questions, is the order the same? Would you see the exact same 3 questions, or is it randomized? And so I'll see 3 questions, but that might be different than the 3 questions you would see when you pick the Eiffel Tower.
You are definitely going to get different questions each run you run the location. We have some logic there that will check that such questions were already shown to you in such amount of time, like in the last hour or so, and then you are not going to get the same question again until you like run the game another day, for example. So there is definitely some logic to prevent you from getting the same questions again and again.
Now, as we kind of talked about before, Brave Brain is such a wildly different, gaming and experience than To the Dragon Cave. I mean, what was, different about coding a game like To the Dragon Cave versus coding a game like Brave Brain?
Brave Brain in comparison with Dragon Cave is much more UI heavy, so it presented also like bigger challenge for us in terms of accessibility, because we had to take care about all the elements on the screens and provide the navigation as straightforward as possible. While into the Dragon Cave, as the gameplay was mainly based on audio, we didn't have to provide so many UI and menus, so it was easy to work with To Dragon Cave in terms of accessibility.
Now, for those people, probably a lot of people will have seen our interview with To the Dragon Cave, but for those people who may not have seen that, can you provide people a little background of, why were you so in tune with accessibility? How did you know about accessibility, and give people a little bit of that background and story?
So for me and Jana, this was the main reason why we founded Kikiriki Games, because my wife Jana she's blind, and she likes to play mobile games, but there is just not enough on the market. And what was the point that like make us to found the studio was that one of Jana's favorite games disappeared from the App Store, so she couldn't play it anymore. And so the initial effort was like my wish was to create a game for Jana again, but then because Jana joined the game dev with me, we just created something more complex, completely different, and it was To the Dragon Cave.
Kind of following up on the effort of accessibility in Brave Brain, and maybe I'll throw this question towards Peter because it sounds like he might be doing a lot of the coding. Peter, what did you find the most challenging component to add accessibility or create accessibility for Brave Brain?
So as I said, it's hard to debug it, like find out that everything works fine. For example, before a few days, we found out that the some text is just wrong because the code was made by someone else, and we broken logistics. So we fixed it, and we have many bugs like that, and it's hard to find out because, as I said, it's not visible on the first glance because you have to play it many times and try out the different scenarios and other things. So it's not that easy as a graphics components.
So, obviously your development company, has a personal reason for putting all this effort into accessibility. And, maybe you could provide some advice or feedback, or, for those companies that are out there who might be considering, should I add accessibility, maybe give some words of, why as a developer, you think it's a good idea to be adding accessibility. And then as a secondary question, what advice would you give them about how to make accessibility or incorporate accessibility?
So for me, because me and Jana, we have a strong motivation to add accessibility to games, the answer is definitely yes. It's a great idea to add the accessibility. So I would like to encourage everyone to at least try and see what it means. And once you realize what's about, and you realize it's not so difficult to edit there. And also the feedback from the community we always get is amazing. So that's something that really helps us to keep doing that.
For advice, because a lot of the feedback you'll hear from developers is, adding accessibility is too hard or it's too costly. I mean, what advice do you have as a developer of, the best way to approach adding in accessibility? And is that true? Is it really hard to add accessibility? Is it really expensive to add accessibility to games?
I think this mainly depends on the genre you choose. So there are genres that are very difficult to make them accessible because the gameplay is just not like the best fit for be played without visuals. On the other hand, there are genres that are very easy to make accessible. Like To the Dragon Cave was very easy because the gameplay was based on audio, so it's very easy to make such accessible game. And the another game from Czech Republic, the Evidence 111, is another great example of game that can be made accessible, and it's just perfect fit for the genre. So I would say check if the game you are doing is a genre that can be easily made accessible, and if so, then it's I think very great idea to do that.
So, and maybe I'll ask each of you to answer this next question. So, setting aside, money made or downloads of your games, how do you gauge or personally measure success for your game? Like, what is it that you say, yes, this has been, To the Dragon Cave has been a success, or the Brave Brain has been a success? How do you measure that? And just setting aside, maybe the financial aspect of it.
So I think everyone here has maybe different measure of the success, so I will provide mine. For me, it's the feedback from the community. If community likes playing the game, then I measure it. Then for me it means success. And one nice surprise for me with the Brave Brain is that it seems that with this game we achieved to create a game that is more accessible for wider audience than was to the Dragon Cave. That like, for example, Brave Brain was played by our nephew who is 10 years old, and he liked that, and also from Jana's parents who are like 70 and they liked it as well. And also from the blind community, many different people are giving us positive feedback. So definitely the audience we achieved to like target with Brave Brain is much wider than we were able to with the Dragon Cave. So we really like that we were able to create a game that is fun for such different groups of people.
What about you, Natalia?
Sorry?
How, when for you, what do you consider success?
I wasn't sure if you are asking me, so sorry for the pause. For me it's definitely the feedback too. It always makes me so happy when I hear that people like the graphics. I think that what Miloš said, that we were able to target such a big group of people is because when you open the game, you are not able to say that it is made for people who maybe have some vision problems, or they can be blind or something, because the game looks like basic, not like basic, but you can't tell the difference from other games. That's what I'm trying to say. But also, I think that people who can't see, they will enjoy the game too, because it is also audio rich. As I was explaining how it's organized there, like that every map has locations and stuff like this. Every location has also its own music. So that's really nice, and I think it's really enjoyable for a lot of people, and we are really happy to hear that. So that's success for me.
Excellent. And Peter, what about you?
I think that for me it is a leaderboard and the competition, because when I first saw that players are competing in the leaderboards, I was happy, because when I started the game as myself personally, I was around rank 50 or something like that. And after a day, I was like 300 or 400. So yeah, I saw people are competing and playing the game and enjoying it. So that was a success for me. And also, I hope the multiplayer will be also a success, because I'm competitive. So I hope I can compete with others in the future.
Yeah, are you guys looking to do that, like head-to-head tournaments?
Yeah, we are working on it right now, so I hope we will do it until September, Miloš, I think.
The time plan is not like we have many things we work on now, so we don't have exact date yet, but we definitely it's our priority now. So we will like aiming to release it as soon as possible. And like Petr is like full steam ahead on that. So I think it looks really good now.
The other thing that I liked about just the overall approach to the game was the geographical location, and then some specific questions about that location, or questions around, like you were saying, fashion, because that's what kind of Paris or France is known for. from a blind community standpoint, where, generally speaking, on the average, it's not the most traveled and internationally traveled group. It allows an insight. As opposed to just being random questions about random things, it kind of gives a peek of, well, what is France like, or what is Italy like, and what are some facts about those locations. And I really kind of liked that, because I felt like it was drawing me into those locales and those sites that, again, the average blind person probably hasn't had an opportunity to go visit. So I kind of liked that as a structural standpoint. And I guess the question there is, what was the inspiration to design the game around the location aspect?
So this was like, me and Jana, we really like traveling. So this was the main inspiration, and Jana traveled a lot. So she was also behind all the countries and locations specifications that she provided us with a list of countries and locations and the topics that should be there. So Jana designed all these things about traveling, as she's experienced and likes traveling a lot.
If I can say something, there in the game, you can earn postcards for reaching a new level, and these postcards you can share with your friends, and there is always some monument or something. And I must say that Miloš and Petr did a great job, because it's a painting, but they described it so well, and Diana was really happy about it, and she told me that she can imagine how the thing looks like. So I think that's really nice too.
Yeah, that's there is a lot of good things that kind of draw you into the success of whether you're leveling up your player, if you will, or you're getting the postcards and the rewards or getting bonuses at the end for passing a location. So I think that's smart in a way to keep people feeling, give those endorphins around being rewarded for success. So I do like that design. Now, I know you just released this game. It sounds like you got multiplayer on the line, that you're working on that. Is the primary focus of the development team still all things Brave Brain, or have you started a third game in another genre that'll be coming out in the future? What's the focus of the company right now?
So what we really like about Brave Brain is that is a game that can be expanded with a new content. So for now, our main focus is Brave Brain. The goal number 1 is the multiplayer. Goal number 2 is some seasonal quizzes, and then we are also planning to add new countries, new quiz questions into the game. And I think there will be much more we can do to keep the game alive and expanding it with new content.
Great. So as we kind of come here to the end of the interview, I mean, just any kind of final thoughts that you have about Brave Brain, or advice for developers around accessibility, just kind of any final thoughts that each of you have around this experience of creating Brave Brain.
Thinking if there is anything. Yeah, maybe one thing that also made us to choose a quiz as a genre we will make is that there are so many trivia quiz games on the mobile market, but when we were checking them, almost none of them is accessible, and we were thinking, okay, so this is a text-based game, so it might be possible to make it accessible with some less effort than other games. So we were pretty set that we can find any or just a few. So that was another inspiration for us to create a quiz game, because we think it's a nice genre for that can be made accessible.
How long did this game take to create, from inception to putting it on the App Store, versus how long it took to create to the Dragon Cave?
It was pretty much similar. There was just one thing that was a little bit different. We started working on it on like October last year, and during like by end of the year we had some first prototype of the game, and it just didn't work out when we start testing it with players. So we had to like redesign the game early January. So we count the development like from, if you count just from the new design, then it was exactly the same as to the Dragon Cave. If we count the original prototype that wasn't much successful, then we need to add a couple of months to add to that. But unlike to the Dragon Cave, where like the possibility for expansion was mainly about adding more languages to the game, here we can see a lot of potential for like future updates, which is why we currently work on the multiplayer. So this is what we like about Brave Brain, that the game can be like still expanded with something new. So
well, plus you, I mean, the multiplayer sounds really interesting. Of getting ongoing tournaments, like here's our September tournament, or our holiday themed multiplayer tournament, and find out, go head to head in a bracket until you get to the winner of that contest, kind of almost like a Jeopardy sort of, what I mean? I think that'll be really interesting to add, and add a really interesting component to people. Well, I really, again, I thank you for the effort that you guys put in, not only creating games but making sure that they're accessible. And it's kind of exciting to see different genres coming out of one studio. So that's exciting. First-person shooter and a quiz, very far from each other in game design, but I'm excited that you're going to have a platform of varied types of games for different types of users. So that's really exciting. So I appreciate the effort that you've put in to make sure that these games are accessible for the blind and visually impaired community.
Thank you, Aaron, for the interview.
And Natálie and Peter, thank you for joining and giving your insights on the game. And again, if you have updates coming, with new content, or rolling out the multiplayer, or you have your seasonal themes, please come and feel free to post them to the group, which I know you guys belong to, and let people know. So we're always wanting to make sure that people are aware of accessible content that's out there and available to them.
Yes, I feel like the release of the game was just start, and I can't wait to see the reactions from people after we add more features and content, because we have so many ideas, and we are really excited about it. So
excellent. Well, again, thank you so much, and we really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.